It's the Frank Show. What? The Frank Show.
Frank.
Come on, the
Frank,
Frank
the
Show.
Frank.
What? The
Frank,
Frank
the
Show.
Frank.
Come on, the
Frank,
Frank
the
Show.
Frank.
What? The
Frank,
Frank
the
Show.
Frank.
Come on, the
Frank,
Frank
the
Show.
Frank.
It's time for the show. Aloha headsets, Frankie Boy here, and welcome to another episode of Ask Frank, the show where we answer your questions that you ask throughout the week on one lovely episode. Now, without any further ado, let's start it off. First up, Jack Robbins would like to know, is it better to have your camera on the top or the bottom of your TV? Now, personally, Jack, I don't even have my camera anywhere near my TV. I put it on a tripod, and then I have the tripod in the best spot in my house, which is actually a dedicated VR room. And I don't even have a TV anywhere nearby. I just use my PlayStation. I mean, I got the screen plugged in, and sometimes I'll turn that on if I just want to, like, do some kind of capture preset or everything now and again. But honestly, once you set up your PlayStation VR the first time, you can play anywhere in your house. All you need to do is plug in your PS4. So truthfully, find the best spot, possibly get a tripod and stick it up. Now, with all that being said, it's best to have your camera eye level if you're about 5 to 6 feet away. If you were like if you had an aim controller, you had your moves and you put them down and you have the balls aiming. If you're looking like straight away at it, you want that to be the center of the two little cameras looking right at you. And your base center area, like I said, 5 to 6 feet away, and that's where you want to be. If that's above your TV, that's above your TV. If that's below your TV, that's below your TV. But really, that is the best bet. And that way you can kind of reach above and below you in the games that allow you to do so without having to really stress about losing tracking or losing area. So higher is better, but not too high, because if you get too high, it gets a weird angle on the PSVR headset, and then that can cause some kind of wobbling and tracking issues, which you don't really want. Sadly, we're in Gen 1, so we got to deal with the light issues. But yeah, eye level, 5 to 6 feet away from you is the best bet. If you can't, put it on top of your TV, get a tripod, or get a way to just mount it on your wall or something, or just find a better place to put it. I don't tell you. Phantom Meme is asking a question a lot of us would like to know. Is Gorn ever coming to PlayStation VR? Now, I reached out to the Gorn devs, and I actually have a buddy that works for Devolver. And the thing is, they don't have any PS4 dev kits that are PSVR capable. Now, I don't know if they've gotten any since I've talked to them last time, but where we were standing last, they had not even started on it yet. Now, Gorn has been something that they have continued and continue to work on. It's still in early access on PC, and for what I've seen, a lot of the early access titles don't make it over to PlayStation VR until we have the full version out on PC. So, once Gorn is in its final full retail state, I think there's a possibility that we can maybe see it on PlayStation VR after that. Even if it's on PSVR 2.0, Gorn will probably be one of those games that stands the test of time. If you've not checked it out, it's an amazing gladiator game, you guys. It's really cool. And instead of blood, you can make it so confetti come out of people. So if you're not into like blood stuff, you can just put confetti, and you can I'm sorry, I should go on to the next question, but you can like rip limbs off and then use those limbs to like slap the people. It's funny. Escape Cat says, hey, Frankie, do you know any space shooters for PlayStation VR? Now, what immediately jumps to mind is Valkyrie, which is an online multiplayer space shooter. But if you're not looking for that kind of thing, N-Space is another one that is a nice space shooter. Starblood Arena is another kind of space shooter. But are you looking for like first-person shooter in space? Because there's also Soulless Project. There is Farpoint. Or are you looking for like spacecraft ship shooter? Because you could also do like the Star Wars experience. Now, I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but there is a handful of space shooters. Don't worry, we're probably going to get even more. I assume you're probably thinking like, Frankie, I want Elite Dangerous on PlayStation VR, and Elite's probably not going to come our way anytime soon, but it's one of those games that will probably be in the next generation of PSVR headset, and we'll probably get it then, because it'll probably still be relevant at that point in time. I mean, who doesn't want to fly a spaceship all across the universe? Eve Shrug said, are there any good PSVR flight sim games? She's already played, or he's already played, I don't know, it could be a guy or girl, has already played Valkyrie. Now, honestly, the one that I will always recommend first is Ultra Wings. It's so much fun, and if you've not played it, it's everywhere. It's on mobile, it's on PC, it's on PlayStation, and it's such a great game, and the devs have continued to add content over time, and there were tons of different airplanes, tons of different islands to explore, and hey, it may not be the most photorealistic, but it really is fun kind of using it as your flight stick, like your move controller, and you get like a little gun to pop balloons in the game, and you can control all the knobbies inside your aircraft. It's great, and until we get The other game that everybody knows that we've been hearing about and hyped about, that just the name of it skips my mind right now, but I'm going to probably pop it off and post. That is probably your best bet. Yusuf A. Gamer says, do you have any DualShock 4 tracking issues? Now, Yusuf, issues with the DualShock 4 tracking is going to be like if you have a sticker or something covering your DualShock 4, sometimes that can lead to issues. If you've not charged it enough, sometimes that can lead to issues. If you've dimmed down the brightness on the light all the way down, sometimes that can lead to issues. But normally, DualShock 4 tracking is even better than the PS Move tracking, just because it's just like a solid little object that is easier for them to track rather than like a little orb-shaped thing that I've noticed. I've never had any kind of issues, and a lot of the times, DualShock 4 track games don't even actually track like where the DualShock 4 is in the physical space. It's really just kind of using your movements. Some games do, and you can see it in the game, and just make sure you're in a good spot. And like I said earlier, make sure that the camera is eye level to you. If you're still sitting down, maybe lower the camera a little bit, or at least kind of like angle it down to you a little bit. And if you know that it's angled down and your DualShock 4 is playing, some people do like to angle their controller down when they play. Realize how you're playing, realize where your camera's at, and kind of make sure your light bar is always facing the camera, and you shouldn't have any issues with DualShock. Barb says, Frankie, what PC do you have? I got the PC right here. This is an Alienware Aurora stock. It's like the third level stock with the 1070, and it's worked completely well for me. Now, it is a dedicated VR machine. I don't do anything on this PC except for record audio and play VR games and record the VR games, but that is all that this one does. I have a laptop over here that I've had forever that I edit and do everything that I really have to do on, any kind of like research, emails, everything. Now, this is a dedicated VR PC, and it works really, really well for it. Now, I've heard that 1080 Ti's work much better, and I've heard that 980s, much simpler, work fantastic as well. So if you want to get a pre-built, the Alienware are really great PCs. They work nicely. Also, Intel has this new like Nuke CH2. You spend a little bit more, but it's tiny. It's like this. It's like this big. It's awesome, and it's like a VR-ready PC. But yeah, there's tons of stuff. Look on the Oculus site. I saw the other day somebody got a VR-ready PC that could play their Rift for $400, which is nice. We're getting to that point where things are getting cheaper, and we're also closing in on a point where like the graphics card and everything, the next generation are coming out, so all the other ones are even cheaper, and the other ones are the ones that were like even better VR-ready stuff. So we're getting at a phase where the buy-in to PC is gonna get a lot lower, and until I think we'll see some more convert, whatever the word is, whatever the pronunciation, potato. Order Chaos, I say, Frankie, what about Carnage Chronicles for PlayStation VR? Now, Ordered, I've not even tried this on PC yet. I've heard a couple good things about it, and I've heard a couple mixed things about it, and they did say that they wanted to come to PlayStation VR, but I don't know. I've not heard anything since then. One game that I do look forward to and excited about coming to PlayStation VR, which is an MMORPG, I think that's the way you spell it, is Redemption's Guild, which is an awesome one. The worlds are fantastic. Yeah, same situation. You get to jump in with like 4 people and go hunting, questing, dungeon crawling. I'm super excited for that one, and that one has continued to look better and better and better, and that one is actually being made by one of my buddies, so I can get a more solid timeline as we get closer to it. But Carnage Chronicles, nothing about it yet. But honestly, Orbis is kind of cool too. That's another one that would be cool if it came to PlayStation VR, but I don't know if it's possible because of how big the like server is. Like, there's always people in there, but maybe. I have no idea. But I'm excited for one of those games. I think one of those games is a big thing. There's also Quest and Rec Room, but they don't have that kind of like progressive, continue to like build your character feeling. I think once we have a solid one of those, other than Skyrim, don't get me wrong, Skyrim's great. I'm talking about more like multiplayer. I think that is really going to suck a lot of players in, like hardcore. J4M4AL says, hey, Frankie, I have issues with drifting in cinema mode. Do you have those issues? Now, Jay, I don't have those issues, but I haven't played a lot of cinema mode lately. If you've seen my tracking video and you set up your PlayStation 4 for tracking, well, normally it doesn't really drift too much. I mean, I've noticed what happens is you kind of turn your head a little bit, you don't realize it, or you're kind of tilted a little bit, or you're at an angle from it, or a lot of people like try to like lay down with cinema mode, and because you're at that weird angle, the camera's working really hard to like try to figure out where you are in space, I think, every now and again, even though you're still in cinema mode, and I think that's the issue. Brent Kyle got the aim controller. He's loving the aim controller, but sometimes when he aims down sights, it shakes a little bit. Now, Brent, I think that the main reason that that's happening is because the ball on the aim controller and the ball, or like the line on your PSVR headset, are kind of like covering each other, and the system's trying to track both of those, but trying to read them both at the same time. So it's kind of getting screwy and messing things up. I don't think there's anything we can do about it just because it's light. I think that some devs try to like compensate a little bit for it, and some do a better job and some don't do as good of a job. But I think it's one of those limitations of the hardware at this point in time. As you said, it's not that terrible, and most of the time you can kind of get over it. And I think it's one or more or less of those. You just kind of got to accept it, get used to it, and then kind of pretend like it's not there. Ignorance is bliss kind of situation. AMAC says, does the PS4 Pro have better cinema mode than the regular PS4? And AMAC, not really. I mean, maybe it'll run a little smoother. Loading times are going to be better or something. But honestly, most of the time, it's not that much greater. I mean, because the visual fidelity of your PlayStation VR isn't going to change anything with the Pro, you know what I mean? And it's not really pumping out any kind of like Pro updates. I mean, you might see that the game looks nicer, but you're not going to get anything like crazy crisper. I think it's still on the same level with the stock PS4. I don't think that it's like night and day, and that should be the reason that you want to get a PS4 Pro. Now, if you want to get a PS4 Pro for PlayStation VR, that's another story. I mean, it's at the point where it's much better to play PlayStation VR on a PS4 Pro because it actually does like the computation and the quick maths to make sure that the PlayStation VR is running smoother, better, faster, stronger. Man, I don't know. That's my 2 cents. But like I said, I don't play a lot of cinema mode, so sadly, I'm not the person to ask about a lot of cinema mode because I don't want. I love VR stuff, but I have a Oculus Go for any of my like video stuff, and I want to play games on PlayStation VR because that's the best thing to do to me personally. But I will promise you guys now that I've seen a lot of questions about cinema mode, I'm gonna do some more research. I promise you, and I'll get my OG PS4 and I'll get the PlayStation 4 Pro. I don't even know why I said the difference. Hooked up and look at the difference and watch the same content on both and have like a compare contrast video, not with the visuals because you can't tell any difference when you do visuals like that, but I'll talk about it. David Dunaway is looking for a koozie. He wants to be able to drink his drinks while he's in virtual reality. And David, I feel you, buddy. And the thing is, with PC, they have the Vive trackers, and some people have even made trackers that like click on the mug so that you can like see your mug in space, and click on the chairs so you can see your chairs in space. And I am, dude, 100% with you on there. And I think it would be awesome if Sony like sold little balls that you could put on to stuff. You're right, if you wanted to, and just like with a battery in it, you just click in, and then you can make items trackable in your house, and all you have to do is really just buy a little globe. Now, I know that that's never going to happen. I just think that it would be really awesome if something like that would happen, and I agree with you. Honestly, bud, the best thing that you can do is just straws and kind of learning where you put stuff. VR is kind of like you have to know your space and also not know your space at the same time. A lot of it is rugs. I have a rug on my play space, and I know that if I've reached the edge of my rug, I'm getting way too close to the wall, so I have to go back. Now, normally, the only time I'm going to bump into a wall is just my back wall, and I don't care about that because the rug goes into that. And in the front, I have like a couch, and I don't ever bump into like the computer stuff because I know I have an idea of where that is most of the time. So I think I think a solid rug would solve your problem, and a straw. Or maybe some like markers on the ground, like put little dots, like Hansel and Gretel style, like little bumps under your rug. That's like, oh, I know those. I feel that bump. If I follow 3 of those bumps, I can go over to my table, and then all I have to do is lean down, and my delicious beverage is right there. Beansy says, what is the name of the official PSVR Frank community? Now, if you're talking about on Facebook, it's just PSVR Frank. We got a page. If you're talking about PSN, PSVR Frank and the headsets. If you're talking about Discord, it doesn't have an official one yet, but we got the Discord link below. If you're talking about, those are the only communities. Yeah, hey, everybody. I'm pretty sure you're probably talking about PSN, PSVR Frank and the headsets. I don't jump in there as often as I probably should. I feel like a terrible person for it, but I do every now and again. It's just the app is not the most user-friendly. It's just harder to follow threads in that PSN app. I wish it was easier. Hopefully they update that in the future. But as of now, communities, it's hard to follow a thread. It's just like one comment will be up here, and then there's tons of comments below. But yeah, PSVR Frank and the headsets. I'm sorry, I kind of like ramble a little. But that's why we have Ask Frank. That's the point of this episode. Drayson Reed actually has 2 questions for us. First up, will Standout VR actually ever make its way to PlayStation VR? And Drayson, that would be awesome. I love Standout VR. It was my favorite Battle Royale game in VR until I started playing Rec Royale, but I love Rec Royale VR. And since we have that on PlayStation VR, I don't feel the need for it anymore, but I know what you mean. And for those of you that don't know what Standout VR, it's basically just like a PUBG clone in virtual reality. It's awesome. You can just kind of like sticky items to you anywhere. So like you pick up gun, you pick up ammo, you can pick up like apples and stuff, and you just like put them anywhere and then grab them off anywhere, and the map is fantastic, and there's vehicles and everything, and I would love to see something like that on PlayStation VR, and I think in the future we'll probably get something like that, but no, Standout is still in like alpha. I think they might be in beta by this point in time, but like I was saying earlier, it's gonna be a while if we see it. It wouldn't be until way after full PC release. Also, his other question was, are we going to get Marvel Powers? Now, I think that would be really cool, but I think that one's one of those Oculus-funded games, so I think it's an Oculus exclusive. Now, they're starting to share a few more games here and there, so there's a chance that we could get it in the future, but I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. It does look pretty cool, and they've continued to add more and more superheroes to the roster. I'm excited to check it out and try it, but I don't know if it's going to taste the sweet lips of PlayStation VR anytime soon. Samantha Gallagher says, hey, Frankie, are you going to have a meetup anytime soon? Now, I don't think we're going to have a meetup anytime soon. Maybe when we get to, like, some kind of crazy number, if that ever happens. And it would probably just be at, like, events, like at PAX or at, like, PSX or something that we can maybe go to. But, no, I'm in the South. It's hard for me to do random meetups. I'm not, like, near any kind of major cities too much. I'm just kind of, like, hanging out in the swamps. Big giant shout out to David T from Cleanfield, England. He's a dad, and he just wants his kids to know that he's a man. And if you're watching this one, your dad is super dope. If he's playing VR, he's a cool dad. Don't even worry about it. That was his question. If you get a shout out, and hey, I got you, buddy. Russell Stanley says, what about any VR golf games? Now, there's a little mini golf gun, but it's like third-person perspective. I haven't heard anything about first-person. I don't know why. Honestly, there's 1,000-foot robot golf, but it's also another kind of like, it's not exactly what you want. But if you haven't heard of those, check those out. One is actually made by Zen Studios, the mini golf one, and you can create your own custom courses. That one's actually pretty cool, and there are so many courses. The other one, 100-foot, I haven't played yet, and I haven't heard the greatest things. Ask in the comments. Someone will respond on it. Marcus Bucciolato says, hey, Frankie, any news on Beat Saber? Actually, we do have a little news. Now, they were interviewed recently and said that we are going to get some special exclusives just for PlayStation VR, which made me think, PlayStation is Sony. Sony has so much music in their catalog. We could get some really, really great songs on Beat Saber, on PlayStation VR. They also said that they were surprised at how easy it was to make it almost exactly the same as the PC one. Even like the movement controls, they said, are fantastic on PlayStation VR. So that's the only thing. Positive news. No date yet. Can't wait to get a date. Can't wait to start playing it. Hamed says his daughter wants to play PlayStation VR, but she's 10. Now, what's the issue with kids playing? The issue is IPD, the distance between their eyes. Most kids, it's teeny tiny, and they don't have a setting for like an IPD setup that small, and they're worried that like it's gonna like end up like crossing your kid's eyes or making them go weird. So extended times is not gonna really be good for them. It's not about like the light coming in. I don't think that's probably I don't know. That's not been. We're going to find out more about that in the long run. We don't really know with VR extremely well. 10, 15 years down the line, we'll know. But right now, it's all about the IPD. If you set your PlayStation VR to the smallest IPD, that's your probably best start for letting her try it out. Next up, Hey Devin asks about early reviews about PlayStation VR games. It got much better over time, and if I think that hurts those games or if it'll work well with the community. He's talking about games like Arizona Sunshine that weren't that solid at launch, but over time got much better, and I think it hurts the games especially when they get a review out there, because a lot of people aren't going to touch back to it. Not as many people follow channels like this, which will keep you updated with that. And I think that the best issue to something like this could be maybe an early access option in PSN. I've talked about this before, and I think it would be great because then you could get the devs some money, and maybe at a cheaper price you buy in early, and you get to work with the game as it goes through, and you know you don't have a final product day one, but at least you get to play around with it. And it needs to have a certain standard, like it needs to be playable and everything work, but just know that there's going to be improvements and more over time, and I hope we see something like that come to PlayStation in the future. Macalac169 got a PSVR at launch, but now he's got a new PC and is wondering Vive or Rift. Now, I've been asked this question tons of times before, and like I said, because cost is getting down and you can probably get a Vive and a Rift at similar prices, it's a lot more difficult these days to decide. Now, one key factor that I must always note is that the Rift has touch controllers, and the touch controllers cannot be beat. Yet if the knuckles were out, I might say go get the Vive right away, but with the touch controllers, it's the greatest thing. Also, the Rift has some fantastic exclusives. Now, yes, you can play all of these on the Vive as well with Revive if you'd like, but they're gonna play better on the Rift. Now, with the Vive, you can play everything on Steam. You can play tons of games on Viveport, and the tracking with the Vive really is far superior than every other headset. I mean, and it's so easy to set up. You just plug in these little like boxes wherever you want in your room, and as long as they can see each other and cover most of the space, you're done. So, it's more of a matter of what kind of games do you want to play. Do you really want those Oculus exclusives? Would you love having the thumbsticks and the Rift controls? Plus, with the Vive, the standard strap that comes with it is not the most comfortable. You're going to want to spend like $100 extra, I think, to get the deluxe audio strap and have everything kind of like built in and super, super comfy. So, it's kind of a toss-up right there. To me, I would say at this point in time, get yourself an Oculus Rift until the next generation of stuff comes out, because you can't go wrong. The Rift is fantastic, super comfortable with a VR cover. I mean, it's comfortable out of the box, but it's fantastic with a VR cover, and it's just a well-made headset, and Oculus has such a great interface, and they're updating Home right now, and I love it so much. I love Steam, I love Vive, but I have a soft spot in my spot for Oculus because I think they're doing a great job in VR. And finally, Alex Diaz says, hey, Frankie, what about the Star Wars VR game? Are we ever getting it? Is it dead? Now, the last thing that Criterion said was that they loved working on Star Wars VR, and they would love to work on a project like that in the future. They like being in the VR space, but there has not been any confirmed VR projects in the works. Now, there could be something in the works that they just don't want to talk about because they're sneaky and they want to release it later. And I mean, there's tons of projects in the works that we don't know anything about. But as of now, the best thing to hear was that they liked working on it. They want to work on it again, and hopefully we see something more. Now, I honestly just want like a nice like lightsaber duel game. Like, give me that multiplayer game over where I can like grip people with one hand and lightsaber duel with the other, and I'm done. I mean, you can already do a lot of that in raw data, but honestly, we need like a solid like lightsaber duel game. That would sell me more than any kind of like Star Wars X-Wing experience. Now, I loved it, but that would sell me. Now, that's it for our questions this week. If you would like to have your question answered on the show, as always, just leave a comment below or on any video from now until next Saturday with the hashtag AskFrank on it, and I will see it and I will answer it on the show. I think we answered pretty much every single question unless there were duplicates. I answered the first one that I saw. But anyway, thank you guys for all for coming through. I hope you enjoyed this series, and as always, if you want to stay up to date on any and everything PlayStation VR and you don't mind this ugly mug, friggin' subscribe. I mean, come on. Smudges. All right, I got to work on this video.